Ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others struggle paycheck to paycheck, despite earning similar incomes? The answer isn't about how much money you make, it's about understanding the fundamental principles that govern financial success, and William Crosbie Hunter's timeless masterpiece reveals these secrets in ways that will transform your relationship with money forever. Money touches every aspect of our lives, yet most of us were never taught how to handle it properly. We stumble through financial decisions, making costly mistakes that compound over time, leaving us stressed, anxious, and wondering where all our hard-earned income disappeared. But what if there was a better way? What if you could master the art and science of money management, not through complex formulas or Wall Street jargon, but through simple, practical wisdom that anyone can apply immediately? William Crosbie Hunter understood something profound about human nature and finances. He recognized that our relationship with money is deeply emotional, psychological, and habitual. It's not just about numbers on a spreadsheet, it's about the stories we tell ourselves, the beliefs we inherited from our parents, and the daily choices that either move us toward financial freedom or keep us trapped in cycles of stress and scarcity. The foundation of all financial success begins with a single, powerful concept that Hunter emphasizes throughout his work: understanding the true nature of money itself. Money is not merely currency, coins, or digits in a bank account. Money represents stored energy, human effort, and future possibilities. When you earn $1, you're not just receiving a piece of paper or a digital credit, you're receiving a claim on goods, services, and opportunities. This fundamental shift in perspective changes everything about how you handle your finances. Think about the last time you made an impulsive purchase. Perhaps you saw something in a store window, felt that surge of desire, and justified the expense with various rationalizations. In that moment, you weren't thinking about money as stored energy or future possibilities. You were responding to emotional triggers, social conditioning, or the instant gratification that modern consumer culture constantly promotes. Hunter teaches us to pause, to reflect, to ask ourselves deeper questions before every financial decision. Is this purchase moving me toward my goals, or away from them? Am I buying this because I genuinely need it, or because advertising has convinced me I do? Will this expenditure bring lasting value to my life, or fleeting pleasure followed by regret? The psychology of spending is far more complex than most people realize. We live in an economy designed to separate you from your money as efficiently as possible. Marketers spend billions studying human behavior, identifying our weaknesses, crafting messages that bypass our rational minds and speak directly to our emotions, fears, and desires. Every color choice in a store, every word in an advertisement, every layout on a website has been carefully engineered to encourage spending. Understanding these tactics is the first line of defense in protecting your financial future. Hunter introduces readers to the concept of conscious consumption, a practice that requires us to become fully aware of every dollar we spend and why we're spending it. This doesn't mean living a life of deprivation or denying yourself pleasure. Rather, it means aligning your spending with your deepest values and long-term goals. When you spend consciously, every purchase becomes intentional. You're no longer unconsciously hemorrhaging money on things that don't truly matter. Instead, you're investing in experiences, items, and services that genuinely enhance your quality of life and move you toward the future you desire. Consider the story of James, a middle-income professional who felt perpetually broke despite earning a decent salary. Like many people, James couldn't understand where his money went each month. He wasn't living extravagantly, wasn't making major purchases, yet somehow his bank account always hovered near empty by month's end. When James finally tracked his spending meticulously for 30 days, he was shocked by what he discovered. Small, seemingly insignificant purchases, morning coffee runs, convenient takeout meals, subscription services he'd forgotten about, impulsive online shopping during lunch breaks, these tiny leaks were draining thousands of dollars annually. The coffee habit alone cost him over $1,500 per year. The unused gym membership, streaming services he rarely watched, and convenience store snacks added up to another $2,000. These weren't life-changing luxuries. They were thoughtless habits that robbed him of financial security without providing genuine happiness or value. The revelation transformed James's approach to money. He didn't eliminate all pleasure spending. Instead, he became intentional. He invested in a quality coffee maker and premium beans, enjoying his morning ritual at a fraction of the cost. He canceled services he didn't use, keeping only those that genuinely enriched his life. He planned meals and shopped with lists, dramatically reducing both spending and food waste. Within a year, James had saved over $5,000, simply by becoming aware and intentional. More importantly, he felt more in control of his life, less stressed, and more optimistic about his future. This brings us to one of Hunter's most powerful principles: the difference between assets and liabilities, between investments and expenses. Most people confuse these categories, treating expenses as investments and failing to recognize true assets. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket or increases in value over time. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket or decreases in value. By this definition, that new car you're so excited about, it's a liability from the moment you drive it off the lot. It depreciates immediately and continues costing you money in payments, insurance, fuel, and maintenance. This doesn't mean you should never buy a car. Transportation may be necessary, but recognize it for what it is: a depreciating asset and ongoing expense, not an investment. True assets work for you. They generate passive income, appreciate in value, or both. Real estate that you rent to others is an asset. Dividend-paying stocks are assets. A business that generates revenue is an asset. Skills and education that increase your earning potential are assets. The wealthy understand this distinction intuitively and structure their lives accordingly. They minimize liabilities and maximize assets, constantly asking themselves whether a purchase will make them money or cost them money over time. Hunter emphasizes that building wealth is not primarily about earning more, though that certainly helps. It's about the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Two people earning $50,000 annually can have radically different financial outcomes. The person who spends $48,000 and saves $2,000 is building wealth slowly but surely. The person who spends $52,000 by using credit cards is moving backward, accumulating debt that will compound against them. The person who spends only $35,000 and invests $15,000 is on a trajectory toward financial independence. Same income, entirely different futures, all determined by spending decisions. The concept of paying yourself first revolutionizes how most people approach finances. Traditional advice suggests handling all your obligations first, paying bills, covering expenses, and saving whatever remains at month's end. The problem? There's rarely anything left. Life always finds ways to expand expenses to match available income. Hunter advocates reversing this process. The moment you receive income, immediately set aside a predetermined percentage for savings and investment before you pay anything else. Treat this savings contribution as your most important bill, one that you simply cannot skip. This single shift transforms your financial trajectory because it ensures that wealth building happens automatically, systematically, regardless of other circumstances. Start with whatever percentage feels manageable, even if it's just 5% of your income. The specific amount matters less than establishing the habit. As this practice becomes natural, gradually increase the percentage. Many financial experts recommend working towards saving and investing at least 20% of gross income, though even 10 or 15% consistently maintained will create significant wealth over decades. The key is consistency and starting immediately, regardless of your current financial situation. Some people protest that they simply cannot save anything, that their income barely covers necessities. In rare cases this may be true, but for most people in developed nations, it's a perception problem rather than a reality problem. When forced to live on less through job loss or income reduction, most people discover they can make do with significantly less than they thought necessary. The difference between necessities and luxuries has blurred in modern society. We've come to view restaurant meals, premium cable packages, latest smartphones, and numerous other conveniences as necessities when previous generations thrived without them. This isn't to suggest returning to some romanticized past or embracing extreme frugality, but rather to recognize that we have more flexibility in our spending than we typically acknowledge. Hunter introduces the concept of financial margin, the buffer between your income and expenses. This margin serves multiple crucial functions. First, it provides psychological peace. When you have margin, you're not living paycheck to paycheck, perpetually stressed about the next bill. Second, it provides practical security. Unexpected expenses don't become crises when you have margin. The car repair, medical bill, or home maintenance issue becomes an inconvenience rather than a catastrophe. Third, margin creates opportunities. When an investment opportunity appears, a discounted item you genuinely need, a chance to start a business, additional education, you can act on it rather than watching helplessly as opportunity passes by. Building financial margin requires addressing both sides of the equation, increasing income and decreasing expenses. Most people focus exclusively on one or the other, but the most effective approach combines both strategies. On the income side, this might mean developing new skills, taking on freelance work, starting a side business, negotiating a raise, or changing employers. On the expense side, it means scrutinizing every category of spending, identifying waste, negotiating better rates, eliminating unnecessary services, and making more cost-effective choices without sacrificing quality of life. The debt trap represents one of the most significant obstacles to financial success, and Hunter dedicates considerable attention to understanding and escaping it. Consumer debt, particularly high-interest credit card debt, is wealth destruction in its purest form. When you carry a balance on a credit card charging 18% interest, you're essentially giving the bank nearly 1/5 of whatever you purchased, in addition to the purchase price. That $1,000 purchase ends up costing $1,200, $1,400, perhaps even $2,000 if you make only minimum payments. You're not just overpaying for items, you're robbing your future self of financial security and opportunity. The mathematics of compound interest cuts both ways. When working for you through investments, compound interest is your greatest ally, turning modest regular contributions into substantial wealth over time. When working against you through debt, compound interest is your enemy, turning manageable purchases into crushing financial burdens. A $20,000 credit card balance at 18% interest will cost you $3,600 annually just in interest charges if you pay nothing toward principal. That's $300 per month simply to maintain debt, money that could be building wealth instead. Escaping debt requires both strategy and psychology. Strategically, you need a systematic repayment plan. The two most popular methods are the debt snowball and debt avalanche approaches. The debt snowball method involves listing all debts from smallest balance to largest, regardless of interest rate. You make minimum payments on everything except the smallest debt, which you attack with every available dollar. When that smallest debt is eliminated, you roll that entire payment into the next smallest debt, creating a snowball effect. This method provides psychological wins, motivating you to continue as you see debts disappear. The debt avalanche method takes a different approach, prioritizing debts by interest rate rather than balance. You list all debts from highest interest rate to lowest and attack the highest rate debt first while making minimums on others. Mathematically, this method saves more money because you're eliminating the most expensive debt first. However, it may take longer to see that first debt completely eliminated if your highest interest debt has a large balance, potentially affecting motivation. Neither method is inherently superior. The best approach is the one you'll actually follow consistently. Some people need the motivational boost of quick wins that the snowball method provides. Others are motivated by the mathematical efficiency of the avalanche method. Choose based on your personality and circumstances, but commit fully to whichever approach you select. Psychologically, escaping debt requires addressing the behaviors and beliefs that created debt in the first place. Debt is rarely the result of a single catastrophic event. It accumulates through patterns of choices. Maybe you use shopping as emotional therapy, buying things to feel better when stressed or sad. Perhaps you've confused needs with wants, convinced yourself that you need things that are actually desires. You might be keeping up with friends or neighbors, trying to maintain a lifestyle you cannot afford. Or maybe you simply never learned to delay gratification, to save for purchases rather than buying immediately on credit. Identifying these patterns is crucial because you cannot change what you don't acknowledge. Hunter encourages radical honesty about your relationship with money. What emotions trigger spending? What beliefs about money did you inherit from your parents? What stories do you tell yourself to justify financial decisions that don't serve your best interests? This self-examination can be uncomfortable, but it's absolutely necessary for lasting change. Consider Maria's story. She accumulated $30,000 in credit card debt over 5 years, not through any major purchases or emergencies, but through 1,000 small decisions. Maria grew up in poverty and developed deep insecurities about social status. As an adult with a decent income, she unconsciously tried to prove her worth through possessions and experiences. Designer clothes, expensive dinners, luxury vacations, each purchase temporarily soothed her insecurity but ultimately deepened her financial stress. The debt itself became a source of shame, creating a vicious cycle where she'd spend to feel better about the stress caused by previous spending. Maria's transformation began not with a budget but with therapy, addressing the emotional roots of her spending. She learned that her worth as a human being had nothing to do with possessions or lifestyle. She developed healthier ways to manage stress and anxiety. She surrounded herself with friends who valued her for who she was rather than what she had. Only then could she implement practical financial strategies effectively. She consolidated her debt, negotiated lower interest rates, created a strict repayment plan, and committed to using cash for discretionary spending. 3 years later, she was debt-free and had begun building savings. More importantly, she was genuinely happier, no longer carrying the weight of financial stress or the hollow pursuit of status through consumption. The emergency fund represents another crucial element of financial stability that Hunter emphasizes throughout his work. An emergency fund is exactly what it sounds like: money set aside specifically for genuine emergencies. Not vacations, not holiday shopping, not any predictable expense, but truly unexpected events like job loss, medical emergencies, urgent home or vehicle repairs, or other crises. This fund serves as a buffer between you and disaster, allowing you to handle life's inevitable curveballs without derailing your financial progress or accumulating debt. Financial experts typically recommend an emergency fund covering 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. Note that this is essential expenses, not your total current spending. If you lost your job, you'd immediately cut non-essential spending, so your emergency fund need only cover rent or mortgage, utilities, food, insurance, minimum debt payments, and similar necessities. For some people, this might be $3,000 per month, requiring a $9,000 to $18,000 emergency fund. For others living more expensively, it might be more. Building an emergency fund while simultaneously paying off debt and covering current expenses feels overwhelming for many people. The key is to start small and remain consistent. Even saving $50 per month is progress. Even a $500 emergency fund transforms certain situations from catastrophes into manageable problems. The car repair that would have gone on a credit card can now be paid in cash. The urgent trip to see a sick relative becomes possible without financial panic. As your emergency fund grows, you'll notice something remarkable happening psychologically. The constant low-level anxiety that characterizes paycheck-to-paycheck living begins to fade. You sleep better, you feel more secure, you make better decisions because you're not operating from a place of desperation. This psychological benefit alone justifies the effort of building an emergency fund, but the practical benefits are equally significant. When an actual emergency occurs, and it will, you handle it calmly and efficiently rather than scrambling, stressed, making hasty decisions that might create additional problems. Once you've eliminated high-interest debt and established an emergency fund, you can shift focus toward building long-term wealth through investment. Hunter emphasizes that investing is not just for the wealthy, it's how people become wealthy. The miracle of compound interest, given enough time, can transform modest regular investments into substantial wealth. Understanding this principle is crucial. You don't need to be rich to invest, but you need to invest to become rich. Many people feel intimidated by investing, viewing it as complex, risky, or requiring expertise they don't possess. While certainly more complex than a savings account, investing fundamentals are accessible to anyone willing to learn basics. The stock market, despite its reputation for volatility and risk, has historically provided returns averaging around 10% annually over long periods. No year matches this average. Some years bring dramatic gains, others painful losses, but over decades, the trend is unmistakably upward. The key to successful investing for most people is time in the market, not timing the market. Trying to predict short-term market movements, buying low and selling high, is extremely difficult even for professionals. Studies consistently show that the majority of professional fund managers fail to beat simple index funds over long periods. If experts can't reliably time the market, individual investors shouldn't expect to either. Instead, successful investing for most people means consistently investing in broadly diversified index funds regardless of current market conditions, holding those investments for decades, and resisting the temptation to sell during inevitable downturns. Consider the difference time makes. If you invest $5,000 annually starting at age 25, assuming a 7% average return, you'll have over $1 million by age 65. The same investment starting at age 35 produces only about $500,000. That 10-year delay costs you half your retirement savings. Starting at age 45 produces only about $250,000. Time is your greatest asset in building wealth, which is why starting early matters so profoundly, even if you can only start with small amounts. Hunter stresses the importance of retirement planning, even for young people for whom retirement seems impossibly distant. The psychology of delayed consequences makes retirement planning particularly challenging. When you're 25 or 30, age 65 seems almost imaginary. The needs of present moment, paying bills, enjoying life, building a career, feel immediate and pressing. Retirement seems like a problem for future you, but future you arrives faster than you can imagine, and without preparation, retirement can become a period of financial stress rather than earned relaxation. The retirement savings landscape has shifted dramatically in recent decades. Previous generations relied on pensions, employer-funded retirement plans that guaranteed income for life. Today, pensions are increasingly rare, replaced by contribution-based plans where employees bear responsibility for their own retirement funding. Social Security exists but provides only minimal support, insufficient for comfortable retirement. Your retirement security depends primarily on what you save and invest during working years. Employer-sponsored retirement plans, like 401ks in the United States, offer powerful benefits. First, contributions are typically made with pre-tax dollars, reducing your current tax burden. Second, many employers offer matching contributions, essentially free money that dramatically accelerates wealth building. If your employer matches 50% of contributions up to 6% of salary, and you don't contribute enough to get the full match, you're literally refusing free money. Third, these accounts grow tax-deferred, allowing compound interest to work more effectively. Beyond employer plans, individual retirement accounts provide additional tax-advantaged saving opportunities. Traditional IRAs offer tax deductions on contributions, while Roth IRAs provide tax-free withdrawals in retirement. The best choice depends on your current and expected future tax situation, but either option beats taxable investing for retirement savings. Diversification represents another crucial investment principle that Hunter emphasizes. Don't put all your eggs in one basket applies perfectly to investing. If you invest everything in a single company's stock, you're exposing yourself to company-specific risk. That company could fail, be poorly managed, face lawsuits, or encounter industry disruption. Even great companies can experience dramatic declines. Diversification means spreading investments across many companies, industries, and asset types, reducing the impact of any single investment's poor performance. Index funds provide easy diversification by investing in hundreds or thousands of companies simultaneously. An S&P 500 index fund owns shares of 500 large American companies across all major industries. A total market index fund owns shares of essentially every publicly traded American company. International index funds provide exposure to global markets. Bond funds balance stock investments with more stable, income-producing assets. A simple portfolio might include 60% in a total stock market index fund, 30% in an international index fund, and 10% in bonds, providing broad diversification with minimal complexity. As retirement approaches, asset allocation should typically shift more conservatively. The 70-year-old retiree cannot afford the same market volatility as a 30-year-old with decades until retirement. Young investors can ride out market downturns, even benefit from them by buying more shares at lower prices. Older investors need stability and preservation of capital. Target date retirement funds automatically adjust allocation over time, becoming more conservative as target retirement date approaches. Tax efficiency represents yet another dimension of financial wisdom that separates those who build substantial wealth from those who don't. It's not just what you earn, but what you keep after taxes that determines financial success. Legal tax minimization strategies can save thousands or tens of thousands annually, money that can be invested to create even more wealth. Hunter encourages readers to understand tax basics and work with qualified tax professionals to optimize their situations. Tax-advantaged retirement accounts provide the most accessible tax benefits for most people. Beyond those, health savings accounts offer triple tax advantages for those with high deductible health plans, tax-deductible contributions, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical expenses. For business owners and self-employed individuals, numerous additional tax strategies exist, from business expense deductions to retirement plans with higher contribution limits. Real estate investors can leverage depreciation deductions and 1031 exchanges. Charitable giving can provide both social good and tax benefits. The key is understanding tax rules relevant to your situation and planning accordingly. This doesn't mean aggressive tax avoidance or questionable schemes. It means legally minimizing tax burden through informed decisions. The difference between paying 30% versus 25% of income in taxes, for someone earning $80,000, is $4,000 annually. Invested at 7% returns over 30 years, that $4,000 annually becomes over $400,000. Tax efficiency matters enormously over long time horizons. Insurance represents another crucial but often neglected aspect of comprehensive financial planning. Insurance protects against catastrophic losses that could destroy years of financial progress. A serious illness without health insurance could result in medical bankruptcy. A house fire without homeowner's insurance could eliminate your largest asset. Premature death without life insurance could leave dependents in financial crisis. Disability without income protection could end your earning capacity. Many people view insurance as wasted money since you're paying for something you hope never to need. This perspective misses the point entirely. Insurance is not an investment, it's protection. You're not paying for a service you'll use. You're paying for security and peace of mind. You're transferring catastrophic risk to an insurance company in exchange for predictable, manageable premium payments. This allows you to build wealth without fear that a single unfortunate event will destroy everything you've built. Health insurance is non-negotiable in countries without universal healthcare. Medical costs can be astronomical, and a single serious illness or injury can result in bills exceeding hundreds of thousands of dollars. Homeowners or renters insurance protects your dwelling and possessions. Auto insurance is typically legally required and financially essential. Life insurance becomes crucial when others depend on your income, particularly when you have children or a non-working spouse. Disability insurance protects your income if injury or illness prevents working. The key with insurance is buying appropriate coverage without over-insuring or under-insuring. Term life insurance typically provides better value than whole life for most people. Higher deductibles reduce premiums if you have adequate emergency savings. Umbrella policies provide additional liability coverage at reasonable costs. Working with an independent insurance agent who can compare options across multiple companies often produces better results than purchasing directly from a single company. Estate planning represents the final major component of comprehensive financial management, yet most people avoid it entirely. Nobody wants to contemplate mortality, but failing to plan creates unnecessary complications, stress, and potentially significant financial losses for survivors. At minimum, adults should have a will specifying how assets should be distributed and who should care for minor children. Beyond basic wills, living trusts can help avoid probate, Healthcare directives specify medical wishes if you become incapacitated, and powers of attorney designate someone to handle finances if you cannot. For wealthier individuals or those with complex situations, more sophisticated estate planning strategies may be appropriate to minimize estate taxes and ensure assets transfer according to wishes. But even modest estates benefit from basic planning. The time to establish these documents is now, while healthy and able to think clearly, not during a crisis when it may be too late. Hunter's work ultimately emphasizes that financial success is a marathon, not a sprint. Get-rich-quick schemes occasionally work for lucky individuals, but they're not reliable strategies for the vast majority. Sustainable wealth builds through years and decades of consistent, disciplined behavior. Small positive choices compound into major outcomes over time, just as small negative choices compound into serious problems. The person who spends $5 daily on coffee, approximately $1,800 annually, could instead invest that money. At 7% returns over 40 years, that daily coffee money becomes over $380,000. This doesn't mean you should never buy coffee, it means understanding opportunity costs. Every spending decision is simultaneously a decision not to invest that money. Sometimes the coffee is worth it, providing genuine enjoyment or social connection. Sometimes it's thoughtless habit that could be redirected toward goals that matter more. Financial discipline doesn't require perfection. You'll make mistakes, everyone does. You'll occasionally overspend, make poor investment choices, or fall back into old habits. What matters is the overall trajectory, the general pattern of choices over time. Think of financial management like physical fitness. Missing a single workout doesn't ruin fitness. One unhealthy meal doesn't destroy health. What matters is consistent behavior over time. The person who exercises regularly and eats reasonably well most of the time will be healthy regardless of occasional lapses. Similarly, the person who saves consistently, invests regularly, and spends thoughtfully most of the time will achieve financial success despite occasional mistakes. Mindset may be the most important factor in financial success, more important than income level, more important than intelligence, more important than specific strategies. Your beliefs about money shape every financial decision. If you believe wealth is only for others, that you're bad with money, that you'll always struggle financially, these beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. Your subconscious mind will ensure your behavior aligns with your beliefs, sabotaging efforts to improve your situation. Conversely, if you believe financial success is achievable, that you're capable of learning and growth, that your financial future is within your control, you'll naturally make better choices. You'll seek knowledge, implement strategies, persist through challenges. You'll view setbacks as temporary obstacles rather than permanent failures. This growth mindset, to use Carol Dweck's term, is crucial for long-term financial success. Hunter encourages readers to examine and challenge their money beliefs. Where did these beliefs come from? Are they actually true, or are they simply stories you've been telling yourself? If your parents struggled financially and told you that money doesn't grow on trees or that rich people are greedy, you may have internalized limiting beliefs about wealth. If you experienced financial trauma, maybe bankruptcy or foreclosure, you may have developed fear-based beliefs that prevent taking appropriate risks. If you grew up wealthy but lost everything, you might sabotage success unconsciously because you don't believe you deserve it. Identifying and reframing limiting beliefs is therapeutic work that may benefit from professional guidance, but you can begin the process yourself. When you notice negative thoughts about money, pause and question them. Is this actually true? What evidence supports this belief? What evidence contradicts it? What would a more empowering belief look like? How would someone with healthy money beliefs think about this situation? The relationship between money and happiness represents another crucial topic Hunter addresses. Popular culture sends mixed messages, suggesting simultaneously that money can't buy happiness and that acquiring things will make us happy. Both messages are partially true and partially false. Money itself doesn't guarantee happiness. Wealthy people can be miserable, but money provides security, options, and freedom that absolutely contribute to life satisfaction and well-being. Research on money and happiness reveals interesting patterns. Below a certain income threshold, roughly $75,000 annually in the United States as of recent studies. Additional income significantly increases happiness because it moves people from scarcity to security. They can pay bills without stress, afford decent housing and healthcare, occasionally enjoy entertainment or dining out. Above this threshold, additional income has diminishing returns on happiness. The difference in life satisfaction between someone earning $100,000 versus $200,000 is much smaller than the difference between $30,000 and $70,000. This suggests that the relationship between money and happiness is not linear. Basic financial security dramatically improves well-being. Beyond security, how money is spent matters more than how much you have. Spending on experiences rather than things tends to produce more lasting happiness. Spending on others rather than yourself increases happiness. Spending to buy time, hiring help with tasks you dislike, creates happiness. Spending on things you adapt to quickly, like larger houses or fancier cars, produces minimal lasting happiness. Hunter encourages readers to align spending with values, a practice that maximizes both financial health and life satisfaction. What matters most to you? If family connection is a top value, spending money on family vacations or regular family dinners is money well spent. If learning and growth matter most, investing in education, books, and courses aligns spending with values. If health is paramount, spending on quality food, fitness, and healthcare makes sense. Conversely, spending on things that don't align with core values, buying things to impress others, keeping up with trends, accumulating possessions you don't use, wastes money and creates clutter without improving life quality. The journey to financial wisdom requires both knowledge and action. Reading about financial principles helps, but transformation happens through implementation. You could read 100 books about fitness, memorize every principle, but you wouldn't get fit without actually exercising and eating well. Similarly, financial knowledge becomes valuable only when applied consistently. Start with small, manageable changes rather than attempting to overhaul everything simultaneously. Choose one area to improve this month. Maybe it's tracking spending to increase awareness. Maybe it's setting up automatic transfers to savings. Maybe it's increasing retirement contributions by 1%. Small wins build momentum and confidence for larger changes. Accountability accelerates progress significantly. Share goals with a trusted friend or family member who will check in regularly. Join or create a financial accountability group. Work with a financial advisor or coach. Accountability transforms intentions into commitments, making follow-through more likely. It also provides support during difficult moments when motivation wanes and old habits tempt you backward. The community you surround yourself with influences financial behavior more than most people realize. If your friends spend extravagantly and pressure you to do likewise, maintaining financial discipline becomes exhausting. If your social circle values frugality and financial independence, living below your means feels normal and supported. This doesn't mean abandoning friendships over spending habits, but it does mean being selective about who influences your thinking and potentially seeking out communities that reinforce positive financial behaviors. Financial education should be ongoing, not a one-time event. The financial landscape constantly evolves with new investment vehicles, tax laws, economic conditions, and opportunities. Commit to continuous learning through books, podcasts, courses, or workshops. Follow reputable financial educators and thinkers. Stay informed about economic trends without becoming obsessed with daily market fluctuations. Develop your financial literacy gradually, building a solid foundation before exploring more complex strategies. Teaching children about money represents one of the most valuable gifts parents can provide, yet financial education rarely happens systematically in schools or homes. Children absorb attitudes about money from watching parents, often learning dysfunctional patterns that persist into adulthood. Breaking this cycle requires intentional effort to model healthy financial behaviors and explicitly teach money management skills. Age-appropriate financial education might include giving young children small allowances to manage, teaching them to divide money between spending, saving, and giving. As children mature, involve them in family financial discussions appropriate to their age. Let teenagers earn money and manage their own spending for certain categories. Teach them about banking, budgeting, and the dangers of debt before they leave home. Explain your own financial reasoning as you make decisions. Acknowledge mistakes you've made and what you learned from them. This prepares them for financial independence far better than simply providing everything they want. The impact of financial stress on relationships cannot be overstated. Money arguments are among the top predictors of divorce. Financial infidelity, hiding purchases or debts from partners, destroys trust. Misaligned financial values create ongoing conflict. Addressing these issues requires open, honest communication about money, even when uncomfortable. Couples should discuss financial goals, values, and concerns regularly. They should establish shared decision-making processes for significant purchases. They should be honest about debts, income, and financial fears. Many couples benefit from premarital financial counseling or working with financial advisors together to align their approaches. For those recovering from financial mistakes or disasters, Hunter offers hope and practical guidance. Bankruptcy, foreclosure, massive debt, job loss. These events can feel like permanent failure, but they're actually opportunities for fresh starts if approached properly. The first step is accepting reality without excessive shame or denial. Yes, you made mistakes or experienced misfortune. That's human. What matters now is moving forward constructively. Financial recovery follows predictable stages. First comes stabilization, stopping the bleeding by addressing immediate crises and preventing further damage. This might mean negotiating with creditors, finding emergency income, or cutting spending drastically. Second comes foundation building, establishing emergency savings and addressing high-interest debt. Third comes growth, increasing income and building wealth through investment. Each stage requires different strategies and mindsets, but progress through these stages is absolutely possible regardless of starting point. Robert's story illustrates this journey powerfully. After a divorce and period of depression, Robert found himself at age 45 with no savings, $20,000 in credit card debt, a foreclosed home on his credit report, and a mediocre job he'd been coasting in for years. He felt hopeless, believing he'd destroyed any chance of financial security or comfortable retirement. But Robert made a decision to change, not through dramatic transformation, but through consistent small improvements. He started by addressing immediate issues, negotiating payment plans with creditors and taking on weekend work to increase income. He cut expenses ruthlessly, moving to a modest apartment with roommates and eliminating non-essentials. He sought therapy to address the depression and emotional spending that contributed to his situation. Within a year, he paid off half his debt and established a small emergency fund. He updated his resume and changed jobs, increasing income by 20%. He continued living frugally even as income rose, directing every extra dollar toward debt elimination and savings. 5 years after his low point, Robert was completely debt-free with $15,000 in emergency savings and had begun investing in retirement accounts. 10 years later, at age 55, he had over $100,000 in retirement savings and owned a small home. He wouldn't achieve the retirement he might have had without those lost years, but he would retire comfortably and securely. More importantly, he transformed his relationship with money, developing habits and mindsets that ensured he'd never return to that desperate place. His story demonstrates that it's never too late to change, that financial recovery is possible even from difficult starting points. Side hustles and additional income streams represent another powerful strategy for accelerating financial progress. While controlling expenses is crucial, there's a limit to how much you can cut. Income, however, has no theoretical ceiling. The internet has democratized entrepreneurship, making it possible to start businesses or side projects with minimal capital investment. Skills you already possess might generate additional income through freelancing, consulting, or teaching. Hobbies might become small businesses. Assets you own might generate passive income through renting. The key with side income is viewing it as acceleration fuel for financial goals rather than permission to spend more. The natural tendency when income increases is to increase spending proportionally, a phenomenon called lifestyle inflation. Fighting this tendency allows you to direct additional income entirely toward debt elimination, savings, or investment, dramatically accelerating progress. Someone earning $50,000 while spending $45,000 who adds $10,000 in side income could double their savings rate rather than simply increasing lifestyle to $55,000 in expenses. Real estate represents a wealth-building strategy that has worked for countless people, though it's not universally appropriate. Owning rental properties can provide both monthly cash flow and long-term appreciation. Real estate investment trusts, or REITs, offer exposure to real estate without the hassles of property management. Your primary residence, while not truly an investment in the strictest sense since it doesn't generate income, does provide forced savings through mortgage principal repayment and potential appreciation while offering the intangible benefit of housing security. However, real estate investing isn't the foolproof wealth builder some gurus claim. Properties require management, maintenance, and dealing with tenants. Markets can decline, leaving you underwater on mortgages. Rental income isn't guaranteed, vacancies happen. Transaction costs are significant. Leverage through mortgages amplifies both gains and losses. Real estate should be considered alongside other investment options, not assumed superior. For some people in some markets at some times, real estate is excellent. For others, it's a distraction from simpler wealth-building strategies like index fund investing. The principle of leverage deserves deeper exploration because it cuts both ways so dramatically. Leveraging means using borrowed money to amplify investment returns. A mortgage is leverage. You're controlling a $300,000 property with perhaps $60,000 down. If the property appreciates 10% to $330,000, you've made $30,000 on your $60,000 investment, a 50% return. Leverage amplified your gains, but if the property declines 10% to $270,000, you've lost $30,000 on your $60,000 investment, a 50% loss. Leverage amplified your losses equally. Leverage is neither inherently good nor bad, it's a tool that magnifies outcomes. Used wisely with assets likely to appreciate and with adequate safety margins, leverage accelerates wealth building. Used foolishly with volatile assets or insufficient safety margins, leverage accelerates financial destruction. The key is understanding the risks and having backup plans for adverse scenarios. Can you handle the mortgage payments if rental income disappears for 6 months? Can you weather a market decline without being forced to sell at losses? If not, you're over-leveraged. Business ownership represents perhaps the most powerful wealth-building vehicle for those with entrepreneurial inclinations and tolerance for risk. While most businesses fail within 5 years, those that succeed can generate wealth far beyond what employment typically provides. You're not limited to exchanging hours for dollars. You're building an asset that might eventually operate without your direct involvement or be sold for a significant multiple of annual profits. Starting a business requires different mindsets and skills than employment. You need to identify market needs, create valuable solutions, attract customers, manage operations, handle finances, and persist through inevitable challenges. The learning curve is steep, the risk is real, but the potential rewards, both financial and personal, can be extraordinary. Hunter encourages readers to evaluate whether entrepreneurship aligns with their personality, risk tolerance, and life circumstances, recognizing it's not for everyone but can be transformative for those suited to it. Even if you never start a traditional business, cultivating an entrepreneurial mindset benefits your finances. Entrepreneurs see problems as opportunities. They think creatively about solutions. They're comfortable with calculated risks. They understand that failure is education. They persist despite obstacles. These qualities serve anyone well, whether employed, self-employed, or retired. Thinking like an entrepreneur about your career, investments, and financial life generally leads to better outcomes than passive acceptance of circumstances. The relationship between happiness and financial independence represents one of Hunter's most profound insights. Financial independence doesn't necessarily mean being wealthy in absolute terms. It means having enough assets to cover expenses without working. For someone with modest needs living in a low-cost area, financial independence might require $500,000 invested. For someone with expensive tastes in a high-cost city, it might require $5 million. The key insight is that financial independence is achievable for far more people than realize it, but it requires conscious choices about lifestyle and spending. The FIRE movement, financial independence retire early, has gained popularity by emphasizing extreme savings rates and intentional lifestyle design to achieve financial independence decades earlier than traditional retirement ages. While the extreme frugality some FIRE practitioners embrace isn't appealing or appropriate for everyone, the underlying principles have merit. By saving and investing 50% or more of income, financial independence becomes achievable in 15 to 20 years rather than 40. This requires significant lifestyle trade-offs that many aren't willing to make, but it demonstrates that financial independence is primarily a function of the gap between earning and spending rather than absolute income levels. Geographic arbitrage represents another strategy gaining attention in an increasingly digital world. If you can work remotely while living in a low-cost area, you can potentially earn high-wage area income while paying low-cost area expenses. Someone earning a San Francisco salary while living in a low-cost Midwestern town or affordable international location can save and invest far more than they could in the expensive city. This strategy isn't universally applicable. Many jobs require physical presence, and there are trade-offs in terms of amenities, cultural opportunities, and social connections. But for those able to pursue it, geographic arbitrage can dramatically accelerate wealth building. Tax optimization through geographic choice also deserves consideration. Some states have no income tax, others have high rates. Some countries offer favorable tax treatment to foreign residents or retirees. While you shouldn't choose where to live solely based on taxes, if multiple desirable locations are otherwise equivalent, tax considerations might reasonably influence the decision. Over decades, the difference between living in a state with a 9% income tax versus no income tax, for someone earning $75,000 annually, amounts to nearly $200,000, before considering investment returns on that money. The concept of enough is perhaps Hunter's most countercultural and liberating principle. Consumer culture constantly tells us that enough doesn't exist, that we always need more, bigger, better, newer. This treadmill of perpetual dissatisfaction drives people to work jobs they hate, accumulate debt they can't afford, and sacrifice health, relationships, and happiness in pursuit of an ever-receding goalpost. Hunter challenges this mindset by encouraging readers to define what enough actually means for them personally. Enough is subjective and individual. For one person, enough might mean a modest home, reliable transportation, ability to pursue hobbies, occasional travel, and security for retirement. For another, enough might include luxury items and experiences that genuinely enrich their life. The point isn't adopting someone else's definition of enough but clarifying your own. What do you actually need to feel secure and content? What genuinely improves your quality of life versus what you pursue out of habit, social pressure, or advertising influence? When you define enough and achieve it, a remarkable shift occurs. You can stop working primarily for money and start working because you find meaning in it. You can take risks on career changes or entrepreneurial ventures because financial security provides a safety net. You can be generous, supporting causes and people you care about. You can say no to opportunities that don't align with your values because you're not desperate for every dollar. You experience what some call financial independence even before achieving traditional retirement, because you've broken the psychological dependence on ever-increasing income and consumption. This doesn't mean complacency or lack of ambition. You can still pursue growth, achievement, and increased income, but you're doing so from a place of choice rather than desperation, from intrinsic motivation rather than external pressure. The quality of your work often improves when you're working because you want to rather than because you must. Your relationships improve when you're not perpetually stressed about money. Your health improves when you're not sacrificing sleep and well-being for income. Your overall life satisfaction increases dramatically. Generosity deserves special attention because it seems counterintuitive from a pure financial maximization perspective, yet it significantly enhances life quality and often financial outcomes. Hunter observes that people who give regularly, whether money, time, or resources, tend to experience greater life satisfaction and often better financial results than those focused purely on accumulation. This isn't magical thinking or prosperity gospel nonsense. It's observable psychological and social reality. Generosity shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance. When you give, You're affirming to yourself that you have enough to share. This psychological shift affects subsequent decisions and behaviors. Generosity builds relationships and social capital that create opportunities. The person known for helping others often finds others willing to help them when needed. Generosity provides purpose and meaning that pure accumulation cannot. Knowing your efforts benefit others beyond yourself enhances motivation and satisfaction. Importantly, generosity should be proportional to your circumstances and aligned with your values. You shouldn't give so much that you can't meet your own needs or achieve financial security. You shouldn't give out of obligation or guilt, but establishing a pattern of regular giving, whether through charitable donations, helping family and friends, or community service, enriches your life regardless of the specific financial impact. Legacy considerations extend beyond financial inheritance. Yes, you might want to leave money to children, grandchildren, or charitable causes. But your legacy includes the values, habits, and wisdom you transmit. The person who leaves millions but teaches their children to be entitled and irresponsible has left a destructive legacy. The person who leaves modest means but teaches children financial wisdom, strong values, and life skills has left a valuable legacy. Hunter encourages thinking holistically about legacy, considering not just what you'll leave behind but who you're helping others become. The emotional side of money management deserves more attention than it typically receives in financial literature. We like to think financial decisions are purely rational, mathematical optimization problems with clear correct answers. In reality, money triggers deep emotions: fear, shame, pride, envy, security, anxiety, excitement. Our financial behaviors often have more to do with emotional regulation than rational calculation. Understanding your emotional relationship with money is crucial for changing behaviors that don't serve you. Do you spend when anxious? Does money represent safety, freedom, status, or something else? What does financial success mean to you emotionally, not just numerically? Were there formative experiences around money, perhaps seeing parents fight about finances or experiencing childhood poverty or wealth, that shape your current attitudes? Exploring these questions, perhaps with a therapist or financial therapist, can unlock behavioral changes that no amount of budgeting spreadsheets will achieve. The practice of gratitude intersects powerfully with financial well-being. Research consistently shows that grateful people are happier, healthier, and more satisfied with their lives. Gratitude also impacts financial behavior. When you regularly appreciate what you have, the compulsion to constantly acquire more diminishes. You experience abundance in your current circumstances rather than perpetual dissatisfaction. This doesn't mean lack of ambition or accepting less than you deserve, but rather enjoying the journey rather than only seeking satisfaction in some imagined future state. A daily gratitude practice might involve writing down 3 things you're grateful for, including at least one related to your financial life. I'm grateful I could afford quality food today. I'm grateful for my reliable car. I'm grateful I can help my friend financially. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. This simple practice shifts attention from what you lack to what you have, from problems to blessings, creating psychological conditions that support better financial decisions and greater life satisfaction. Mindfulness and intentionality extend beyond gratitude to encompass your entire financial life. Most people operate on autopilot financially, repeating habitual patterns without conscious awareness. Subscriptions renew automatically. Shopping happens while distracted. Financial statements go unexamined. This autopilot mode prevents the awareness necessary for change. Mindfulness means bringing conscious attention to financial experiences. Notice the emotion you feel seeing your bank balance. Pay attention to thoughts that arise when considering a purchase. Observe without judgment your reactions to financial discussions or news. This mindfulness creates space between stimulus and response, allowing conscious choice rather than automatic reaction. Instead of immediately buying something when you feel sad, you notice the sadness, recognize the impulse to shop, and choose a more constructive response. Instead of avoiding financial planning because it feels overwhelming, you acknowledge the feeling and take action anyway. Mindfulness doesn't eliminate emotions or make financial management effortless, but it provides the awareness necessary for intentional behavior change. The role of patience in financial success cannot be overstated, yet modern culture conditions us for impatience. We're accustomed to instant gratification, same-day delivery, immediate results. Wealth building operates on entirely different timescales, requiring patience measured in years and decades rather than days and weeks. This mismatch between cultural conditioning and financial reality creates challenges for many people. Cultivating patience means accepting that meaningful progress takes time. You won't eliminate debt overnight. You won't achieve financial independence in a year. Investment accounts will fluctuate daily, sometimes dramatically, but what matters is the long-term trend. Learning to delay gratification, to accept short-term discomfort for long-term gain, is fundamental to financial success. Every time you choose not to make an impulsive purchase, you're exercising patience. Every paycheck where you invest before spending, you're practicing patience. Over time, this patience compounds into substantial results. Systems and automation provide powerful tools for overcoming willpower limitations. Willpower is finite and unreliable. You can't depend on always making the optimal financial decision through pure willpower, especially when tired, stressed, or emotional. Instead, create systems that automate good behavior. Automatic transfers to savings and investment accounts ensure wealth building happens regardless of motivation. Automatic bill payments ensure on-time payments without requiring attention. Spending limits on categories create boundaries that prevent overspending without requiring constant vigilance. These systems don't require perfection or superhuman discipline. They quietly work in the background, turning good intentions into consistent action. The person who manually transfers money to savings each month will occasionally forget or decide they need that money for something else. The person with automatic transfers removes the decision entirely, ensuring progress happens consistently. Over years, this reliability produces dramatically better outcomes than sporadic manual efforts, even if those manual efforts sometimes involve larger amounts. Accountability mechanisms complement systems by adding social reinforcement to structural support. Sharing goals with an accountability partner creates external motivation that supplements internal motivation. Regular check-ins with a financial coach or advisor provide both guidance and accountability. Posting about financial goals and progress in online communities creates public commitment that increases follow-through. Some people even create financial consequences for failing to meet commitments, like donating to a disliked charity if they miss savings targets. The importance of celebrating progress deserves emphasis because financial goals typically span years or decades, making it easy to feel like you're not making progress even when you are. If your goal is accumulating $500,000 for retirement and you currently have $10,000, reaching $15,000 might feel insignificant. But that $5,000 represents 50% growth, remarkable progress that deserves recognition. Celebrating milestones, whether eliminating a debt, reaching a savings target, or achieving an investment goal, provides positive reinforcement that sustains motivation. These celebrations need not be expensive. The point isn't rewarding yourself with purchases that undermine financial goals. Instead, acknowledge progress explicitly. Share it with supporters. Reflect on how far you've come. Update tracking charts or visual representations of progress. Allow yourself to feel good about the discipline and choices that created this progress. This positive reinforcement makes continuing the journey more appealing than if you only focus on how far you still have to go. Learning from setbacks represents another crucial skill because setbacks are inevitable. You'll make financial mistakes. Markets will decline. Unexpected expenses will arise. Jobs might be lost. Relationships might end, dramatically affecting finances. These events don't represent failure unless you give up. They're simply part of the journey, opportunities for learning and course correction. When setbacks occur, practice self-compassion rather than harsh self-criticism. Beating yourself up doesn't help and often triggers destructive behaviors as you try to feel better through comfort spending or give up entirely, thinking you'll always fail. Instead, acknowledge what happened, extract lessons, adjust your approach, and keep moving forward. The person who loses money on a bad investment can either become paralyzed by fear, never investing again, or can analyze what went wrong, learn from it, and make better investments going forward. The second person ultimately succeeds. The first person ensures failure through avoidance. The intersection of purpose and finances represents perhaps the deepest level of financial wisdom. Why do you want financial security or wealth? What will it enable? How does money serve your deeper values and purpose? These questions move beyond tactics and strategies to fundamental motivation. Someone pursuing wealth purely for status or ego gratification will never feel satisfied because those motivations are insatiable. Someone pursuing financial security to support their family, create time for meaningful work, or enable generosity has clear purpose that sustains motivation through challenges. Hunter encourages readers to regularly reconnect with their financial why. When budgeting feels restrictive, remember you're creating freedom. When saving feels like sacrifice, remember you're building security. When working extra hours feels exhausting, remember you're moving toward goals that matter. This connection between daily actions and deeper purpose transforms the entire experience. You're not depriving yourself. You're choosing what matters most. You're not sacrificing today for tomorrow. You're aligning behavior with values. As we near the conclusion of this journey through financial wisdom, it's worth reflecting on how these principles interconnect and reinforce each other. Financial success isn't about implementing one magic strategy. It's about weaving together multiple principles into a coherent lifestyle. You track spending to increase awareness. Awareness enables conscious choices. Conscious choices aligned with values create satisfaction. Satisfaction reduces emotional spending. Reduced spending creates savings. Savings get invested. Investments compound. Compounding creates security. Security enables generosity. Generosity creates meaning. Meaning enhances life quality regardless of net worth. Each element supports the others in an upward spiral of improving financial health and life satisfaction. This holistic approach explains why some people with modest incomes achieve financial security while others with high incomes struggle perpetually. It's not primarily about the amount earned but about the entire system of beliefs, habits, and choices surrounding money. Someone earning $50,000 who thinks clearly about money, spends intentionally, saves consistently, and invests wisely will achieve far better outcomes than someone earning $150,000 who spends unconsciously, saves sporadically, and makes poor investment choices. The latter might enjoy more luxury in the short term but will likely never achieve financial security or peace. The journey of financial transformation is deeply personal. Your starting point, goals, values, and circumstances are unique. The specific strategies that work for you might differ from what works for others. That's perfectly fine. The principles Hunter teaches are universal, but application must be customized. Don't compare your financial journey to others. Someone might achieve financial independence faster because they earn more, inherited money, or are willing to live more frugally. This doesn't make your journey less valid or valuable. Focus on your progress relative to where you started, not relative to others. There will be people in your life who don't understand or support your financial choices. Friends might pressure you to spend on things you don't value. Family might criticize your frugality or question your priorities. Society constantly broadcasts messages encouraging consumption. Standing firm in your financial values requires courage and clarity about what matters to you. Sometimes this means having difficult conversations, setting boundaries, or accepting that others won't understand. Your financial security and peace are worth protecting, even at the cost of social friction. Building wealth and achieving financial security create opportunities to help others in meaningful ways. This might mean supporting family members, contributing to causes you care about, or simply being available to help friends without financial stress preventing generosity. One of the great joys of financial security is freedom to be generous without sacrificing your own stability. You can help your struggling sibling without jeopardizing your retirement. You can support charitable causes without worrying about next month's bills. You can lend a friend your car or house without anxiety about potential damage. Financial security enables generosity, and generosity enhances life satisfaction in ways that pure accumulation never can. As you implement these principles, remember that perfection is neither possible nor necessary. You won't always make the optimal financial decision. You'll sometimes overspend, miss savings contributions, or make investment mistakes. What distinguishes successful people from unsuccessful ones isn't perfect execution but persistent effort and learning from mistakes. The person who stumbles but gets back up repeatedly ultimately reaches their destination. The person who gives up after mistakes or never starts because they fear imperfection never moves forward. Your financial future is being created right now through the daily choices you make. Each decision, whether spending or saving, working or resting, learning or remaining ignorant, compounds over time into your ultimate financial reality. This might feel overwhelming, like too much pressure, but it's actually empowering. You have agency. Your financial future isn't predetermined by your past, your current income, or your circumstances. It's being shaped by your choices. Change your choices, change your future. The time to start is now, not tomorrow, not next month, not when you earn more or when life calms down. Those conditions rarely materialize. Life remains busy and complicated. Income might or might not increase. What you can control is starting today with whatever resources and knowledge you currently possess. Even tiny steps forward are progress. Even $1 saved is a start. Even 5 minutes learning about finances is valuable. Momentum builds from small beginnings. Hunter's wisdom ultimately points toward a life of intention, awareness, and alignment between values and actions. This applies to money but extends far beyond it. The same principles that create financial success, clarity about goals, consistent action, learning from mistakes, patience, discipline, flexibility, create success in relationships, career, health, and personal growth. Financial wisdom is life wisdom applied to money. As you move forward on your financial journey, carry with you these core truths. Your financial future is created by daily choices, not circumstances or luck. Small consistent actions compound into remarkable results over time. Understanding why you're pursuing financial goals sustains motivation through challenges. Systems and automation overcome willpower limitations. Learning is continuous. There's always more to discover and apply. Mistakes are education, not failure, as long as you extract lessons and adjust. Comparison to others is meaningless. Focus on your own progress. Financial security creates freedom, options, and opportunity to help others. Money is a tool for creating the life you want, not an end in itself. And finally, it's never too late to start, but starting now is always better than waiting. The principles and strategies we've explored throughout this journey represent timeless wisdom that has helped countless people transform their financial lives. They're not quick fixes or get-rich-quick schemes. They're sustainable approaches that create lasting change. Whether you're currently struggling with debt, comfortably middle class seeking more security, or already wealthy wanting to optimize and preserve what you've built, these principles apply. The specifics might vary, but the fundamentals remain constant. Before we conclude, I want to express my deepest hope that this exploration of William Crosbie Hunter's wisdom has given you not just information but genuine inspiration and practical tools for transforming your financial life. Knowledge without application changes nothing. Information without implementation provides no benefit. The question isn't whether you now know more about financial management. It's whether you'll actually use this knowledge to change your behaviors, habits, and ultimately your financial future. The gap between knowing and doing is where most people falter. They read books, attend seminars, consume content, and feel motivated, but then return to old patterns unchanged. Don't let that be your story. Choose one specific action you'll take this week based on what you've learned. Maybe it's tracking your spending for 7 days. Maybe it's setting up an automatic transfer to savings. Maybe it's calculating your net worth. Maybe it's having an honest conversation with your partner about money. Whatever it is, commit to it and follow through. That single action can be the first step in a journey that completely transforms your financial life. Remember that transformation rarely happens suddenly or dramatically. It's the result of thousands of small decisions compounding over months and years into remarkable outcomes. The person you'll become financially in 5 years is being created by choices you make today. The retirement you'll experience in 30 years is being funded by the investments you make this month. The financial stress or security you'll feel next year reflects the habits you establish now. Every moment offers an opportunity to choose the path toward the future you desire. I encourage you to revisit these principles regularly, not just once but periodically as you progress on your financial journey. Different insights will resonate at different stages. Concepts that seem abstract when you're drowning in debt become intensely practical when you're ready to invest. Strategies that feel irrelevant in your 20s become crucial in your 40s. Return to this wisdom as your circumstances change, finding new layers of meaning and application each time. And please, if you found value in this exploration of Dollars and Cents by William Crosbie Hunter, if these principles and stories resonated with you, if you feel more equipped and motivated to take control of your financial future, I would be incredibly grateful if you would like and subscribe to Audiobook Library. Your support helps this channel grow and enables us to continue bringing you more valuable content like this. Every like, every subscription, every share helps us reach more people who could benefit from this wisdom. Together, we're building a community of people committed to financial wisdom and intentional living. Additionally, please check out our channel's vast library of other videos covering essential topics for personal growth, financial success, and living your best life. We have in-depth explorations of classic and contemporary works on wealth building, personal development, productivity, relationships, and so much more. Each video is crafted with the same care and attention to providing genuine value, not just information but transformation. You'll find content that addresses wherever you are in your journey and whatever challenges you're currently facing. Your financial transformation starts today, with this moment, with the decision to take control rather than remain passive. The principles you've learned here have the power to completely change your life trajectory, but only if you implement them. Only if you move from knowing to doing. Only if you persist through challenges and setbacks. Only if you maintain vision of the future you're creating even when progress feels slow. You have everything you need to succeed financially. You have the knowledge from this exploration of Hunter's wisdom. You have the capability. Every person has the ability to learn, change, and grow. You have the opportunity. This moment and every moment going forward offers chances to make better choices. What you need now is commitment, the decision to actually do what you now know needs doing. Make that commitment now, not tomorrow, not next week, right now in this moment. Commit to your financial future. Commit to learning and growing. Commit to the daily disciplines that create long-term success. Your journey toward financial wisdom and security begins now. Take the first step today, then another tomorrow, then another the next day. Before you know it, you'll look back amazed at how far you've traveled and how much you've transformed. The future you desire is absolutely achievable. The financial security, freedom, and peace you long for are within reach. Go claim them through consistent application of these timeless principles. Your amazing financial future awaits, and it's created one wise choice at a time, starting right now.